He suggests that we build our theory inside our paper on these most important points. So the first one is to build the research on the theory on the research themes set out in the main areas of interest of the research. The second, build on the literature of the area. You may gain insights to build theory from personal and professional experiences, experts in the research area, and from practitioners. And sometimes, like Ruben Alves says, our theory is based mainly on our vision of the world. So he says that sometimes our theory building is like a process of refining our prejudgments, our preconceptions. So when we enter to study something, we are mainly trying to see if our beliefs are wrong or are right in the literature and the field work. Usually have to do with the beliefs that we have. Okay. So another tip, another clue that this author gives is that sometimes we think that when we are building theory, when we are writing or constructing our paper or our dissertation or thesis, we are going to do things in a serial, like in a line, in a sequence, and sometimes people think that we are not going to go back to previous steps of building our paper or our work. And when you go to the field, you see that the data are not well behaved, and you have to go back to your literature review. So you get the tools to deal with that misbehaving of the field data. So in this part of the text, the author says that the process of building a good paper is full of going front and back all the time, not only going forward for a long time. Okay. So when you go to the field, sometimes two things can happen. One, sometimes we think the first is good and the second is bad. When you made a good literature research, usually you find an agreement between the findings and the literature, or at least in part. Sometimes when people do a poor literature review, or when there is a conflict between the same concept in different areas of knowledge, sometimes one area like sociology says one thing and philosophy says another thing, or sometimes what you are studying does not have any literature to explain your phenomenon. So in this two type of cases, you have a conflict between the findings and the literature. So when you have this type of conflict between findings and literature, you usually have a good issue to work inside your paper. So when you do a thorough literature review, when your literature review is really comprehensive, and you try to read everything that there is about that theme, and still there is conflict between findings and literature, you have a good piece of phenomenon to work, because that is a unique, a special event. So when you deal with this type of special event, this is a really good and special finding, and this is a good thing to raise the impact factor of your paper. Your paper is gonna be so exotic that many journals will be interested in your paper. Okay. There is a good clue of what to read in qualitative research is this paper from Good by Lincoln. And that's it from this one. Okay. The second one is about okay. The second one gives some clues about which authors are good to guide good building of theory. They are Becker, Kildo, Flippin, Sutton and Stoll. This one is very classic. Weick and Wetten. These three ones, Sutton and Stoll, Weick and Wetten, are the most classic papers about how to write good papers. This paper is an editor comment on how to write good papers for the Academy of Management Review, the most important journal of the management area. Okay. Thanks. Okay. The first clue, the first advice that the editor gives is that sometimes the only parts that the reader will see in your paper are the title and the abstract. So you have to write this in a manner that is very seductive. So you get your reader to read the rest of the paper. If your title and the abstract are only formal, a formal piece of text, you don't have you don't get to attract the interest of your reader, and your impact factor is going to go down. Okay. A good clue that he gives too is that you try to write your title in two parts, separated by a column. So if you write about public policies in education, column, a case study in the basic schools in Palmas, Tocantins. This type of title is going to put more attention to you than one single phrase title with all this information without any structure. So try to separate types. Thanks. Try to separate the types of information with a column in the middle of the title. Okay. The most important thing that he and I are giving as advice is that you have to try to be to write in the simpler language that you can, because sometimes I had some semesters ago I had a student that tried to I supervised this one student. This student tried to write in a manner that there were many language mistakes, but the person tried as long as she could to put many Latin citations from many philosophers from ancient Greece and many things like that. But if you don't know how to speak Portuguese, why you are trying to put Latin dictations and anything to try to show off your knowledge? If you don't have knowledge, you don't have anything to show off. Okay. So instead of trying to show off what you know, I usually see that the most the person knows, the least difficult to understand the paper of the person. So these authors, Webb and Karl Weick and many others, try to speak in a polished manner, but in a simple manner, so that any student, any good student is going to understand that paper. So any student is going to get better reading that paper. So the main thing is try to get to the simple language you can. If you can explain your idea to a 5-year-old cousin, okay, that's okay. That your language is okay. But if you have to choose between technical audience and how do I say? In the beginning, an audience that is beginning to understand that thing, you have to speak to the broader audience of people who know the technical terms of your field. Okay, but no showing off. Okay. Okay. So another tip that this editor gives is that you have to understand and try to watch which are the best practices that the author of your area are doing. So in this editorial, he tries to present the most important, the most effective ways of writing that the best authors are using. So he tries to present the 10 best articles that were awarded in this journal and in the event based on this journal that is the biggest in America. It's not this event is not bigger only than the Eagles event that is from Organization Sciences, but in Europe. But this event from Academy of Management is the bigger event in America, all America. Okay, so this editor tries to pick the best articles, the best 10 articles, and present to us what were the best practice that these best 10 articles used. Okay. So, in management, there is no problem in saying that you achieve the conclusion. But in some areas, most linked to qualitative research, you try to say, not say conclusion, and instead you use final considerations, or you try to put the title of the final section in a way like we in Portuguese say a guisa de conclusão. Sometimes we say it this way. Okay. Okay. So it's a kind of a joke from a professor, and this final statement of the paper. He says that when we try to build a theory paper, you have a mixed blessing. You have greater freedom to produce the paper, but you have more rope to hang yourself with, and you know that the people who are going to evaluate your paper will hang you if necessary. Okay. So this is the second one. This third one is this author, Kathleen Eisenhart, is a good methodologist author in management themes, and she has at least 3 papers about how to build theory from cases or from other theories. Okay. So there is two ways to build theory from cases, and the main techniques that she presents are: the first one, you pick a very rich and dense case and try to describe it better. Okay, and try to describe it in the best and dense way that you can. And with this case, you try to observe the phenomenon and try to see which phenomena are happening in relation to the others. Just like, I don't know if you saw that statistical technique, structural equations modeling, when you have many balloons inside a diagram, and you try to put that balloons represent variables, and with some, how do I say, some indications of the relationship, if one causes the other or the other causes the one, and anything. So this type of description is can get more dense if you study only one case. But when you study only one case, you incur in the danger of not being able to generalize from that unique case. So the author says that sometimes you have to make a trade-off. So, or you approach just one case with very much richness and denseness, or you study many cases, many similar cases, try to develop inductively a good theory of what is happening as a pattern inside all these cases. And when you observe the pattern and draw that pattern in a diagram, this kind of paper is it's more acceptable, because that many cases, mainly if they are from different countries or different contexts, geographic contexts, you are going to build a theory that is more generalizable. But there is the danger of not get in enough detail to pick up the attention of the editor or the other readers. So the author says that it's not a simple choice, it's not a simple solution, and she doesn't give the advice of choosing any way. So we are left with our own risk, and we have to pick if we describe densely one case or find a pattern between many cases. Okay, this paper, it was in the folder that I sent to you before the beginning of the classes. It's from a Chinese researcher, and he makes he presents the history of what we are used to. This INRAD structure: introduction, methods, results, and discussion. And it's interesting that he makes an introduction based on history of science. So in the first part of the paper, he says that this INRAD structure was invented by Louis Pasteur in the where? I think it was in the 19th century. I don't know exactly where he says this. And Louis Pasteur. 1876. This Louis Pasteur invented this structure in INRAD.